Welcome to Sorry If I Spit When I Speak. Well, it's been an exciting free agency period. The Bengals locked up their top corner, Drake Kirkpatrick. They kept a very strong veteran presence in Eric Winston, and they still have a couple $1 million to spend.
What? Seriously, Daddy? Seriously? Well, an exciting free agency?
Yeah.
Period. Exciting.
Lot of flexibility, cap, lot of draft picks.
Mr. Steele is having an exciting time right now. Look, we let our two best offensive linemen go. We overpay for Drake Kirkpatrick, a guy who had about 30 penalties the last 2 years, and then we keep the ugliest lineman in the NFL.
Okay, that's not necessary.
Seriously, we keep Winston, and I'm not talking about the Winston, the awesome guy from the Ghostbusters. We let Zeitler go. I mean, we didn't even make him an offer that deal. That's
not true, Hodgie. What we said was
it is true.
We said you go out there and see what deals you get.
John said it's fact.
Hold on, let me clarify the Bengals. Bengals said, look, Zeitler, go out there, see what's out there, what offers you get, and if you don't like what you get, come back to us. We'll be there.
Yeah, but they literally didn't offer him a contract, though.
No, they didn't, but they wanted to get the market value so they can make a smart, frugal choice, because you don't want to just pay without knowing what he's worth, you know?
They wanted to do a Bengals bargain bin, right, John? They want to lowball him, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you knew he was gonna basically reset the market value for the guards everywhere. You knew he was going to be the baseline of what Zach Martin for Dallas is eventually going to get. You knew he was going to be good because, look at Kevin Zeitler as a player. He checks the boxes of everything as a clean free agent prospect. He's only 27 years old. He had 5 years of consistent production. And every single team in the NFL had interest because players like Kevin Zeitler don't hit the market. But the Bengals, with their outdated ideology, decided that a guard's not going to be worth this much guaranteed money. So they basically said, yeah, you know what? We're not going to. You're not coming back. We're going to keep with what we have and go out there and get your money, basically.
Exactly. It's like a man who wants to lose weight, and instead of cutting the fat, he cuts off his testicles. And cutting the fat would be cutting. I'm talking about your Adam Jones and your Ray Mawaluga. Get rid of the fat. They're a bunch of fatheads, man.
I actually agree with Hodgie on that one. A good amount.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. How can you still have Adam Jones, who's counting against $8 million against the cap, Ray Maluga is counting against $3 million against the cap, and Pat Sims counting against $1 million against the cap? That right there is $12 million, which is basically going to be Zeitler's average per year.
Well, they could cut him after June 1st, maybe, or something. I don't know.
They absolutely could have. They could have designated him as a post June 1st cut, a month ago to clear out the cap space that they needed to re-sign both Andrew Whitworth.
Well, what about the theory that this was all just a ploy for the Adam Jones, let's say, to get a better deal for Drake Kirkpatrick, because people were talking 12-15 million, which is obviously ridiculous because he's a below average or about average corner, but people were talking much higher than what the Bengals paid him.
You ever see a chicken run around with its head cut off? Because that's basically what the Bengals free agency plan is. It's the same. It's the same offseason every single year. They wait and wait. They have their guys test the market and say, "Hey, if you don't like what you see, we'll come back to the table. Maybe we can work out some type of hometown discount." And they got cocky. They all only offered Witt about $11 million, I think, over a 2-year deal, and they couldn't re-up that deal to make it an extra couple million over the course of a couple years. They got greedy. They got cocky. They didn't think that Witt was going to take the money, and guess what? He did, because he deserves it, because he's that good of a player. How can the Bengals see the last 4 weeks of the season with the way he had left tackle and think, hey, maybe we should prioritize Whitworth. Maybe we shouldn't just stick to our initial offer. Maybe we should try to work with him, try to negotiate a deal, because we kind of need this guy. We cannot feel comfortable with Cedric Ogbuehi as the starting left tackle for 2017 if they saw the same play that I saw.
Yeah, look, Whitworth at this point is much better, obviously, than anybody on our offensive line, but especially the tackles. But the thing is, I don't like to judge people by their age, but other than Bruce Matthews, I can't really think of someone at Whitworth's age or older, playing at a very, very high level on the offensive line. I mean, at most positions other than quarterback. There's very few exceptions. And maybe he came into the league when he's a little older. I think he's about 24. And, with modern medicine and all that, maybe it's different. But I think the thinking is,
Evan Mathis, what about him?
I don't
He's
know.
old.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's very rare, to have someone. He's going to be 39 by the time the contract's up, and he's going to get about 10 million.
He's going to be 37 by the time it's up.
I actually agree. I think he's too old too for that money.
He's a baby. I mean, is he vegan?
I mean, I'm looking at the contract now. The total dead money after this year is only $5 million. That's spread over 2 years. So if they come in 2018, that's $5 million in dead money, and if they cut him in 2019, that's only 1.6 in dead money. I mean, that's pennies to NFL organizations, but it's a lot more for the Bengals who don't like to handle.
Well, John, let's be honest here. The Bengals just don't cut people. You know what I mean? They're not going to cut them no matter what.
I mean, that's true. I mean, the Bengals and the Packers...
So that's what they're thinking. They're thinking if the Bengals give him a $33 million contract, they're thinking we're going to pay every penny of that. Because
but just like Whitworth is with his medicine, Whitworth would be the anomaly in this type of organizational philosophy. They know that Whitworth wasn't going to play for 4 years with them because they had to play away at some time. But they could have structured the deal where they put all the guaranteed money up front like they always do.
And maybe move him to guard if they have to or something. Eventually,
I cannot take 10 more years of a boy. I just can't. I'm sorry.
Hey! On the plus side, he's been, Hodgie got his name down right this time, so we made progress.
Yeah, there we go. But that's another point that I like for how abysmal our line was last year. You would think that this would be like the number one priority is to keep the two best guys. But
now they have heads in their ass.
Yeah. So and this just. I almost feel bad for Andy.
Oh, completely.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
Guys, do you want to know how bad it is? You want to know how bad it is? Even I feel bad for Andy.
That's bad. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But let me ask you guys something. Okay, Whitworth is 35, and he said he wants to win a Super Bowl. And he went to a team, one of the few teams that is clearly in a worse position to win than the Bengals, right? So you have to wonder, why is it? I mean, if he really was worth that money, why didn't a team that even is on the border of being in the playoffs, like an 8-8 team, something like that, why didn't someone like that offer him something? Why did he decide to go to the Rams?
Daddy, you live in LA, right?
Yes.
Is the weather nice out there?
Whitworth doesn't seem like that type of guy. I mean, with his, excuse me, but with his excess weight and stuff, he's going to be hot a lot of the time, and that beard.
Look, he's going to, Whitworth, listen, I mean, I tell you, Whitworth's going to come out here, man is going to get paid, then he's going to retire, he's going to lose a bunch of weight, he's going to get some work done, he's going to get some surgery, maybe a butt implant. We all do it, man. That's what LA is about. He's going to be eating sushi in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you never know. And he's going to be eating sushi in the day and just kind of cruising down, Sunset Boulevard at night. He's setting himself up. And you know what? I'm sure he would have been happy in Cincinnati. But when your talent is not recognized by the place you've worked for years, you've done the sweat, you've done the blood,
yes.
And they don't want to pay.
Yeah, now that is a factor I agree with. Look, Whitworth is borderline Hall of Famer now. I don't know. I mean, he could, if the Bengals make a couple of deep runs and he plays at this level 2-3 more years, he could be in the Hall of Fame, right? One of the greatest players in franchise history, in a way. So in that sense, it does send a bad message. I mean, this guy was very loyal. He was there to the thick and the thin. It's a bad look in that sense to not do everything they could.
It's almost like he was mad at them. Who would have thought?
But he said he wasn't. He said no grudges. I saw Jeff Hobson.
I mean, he has to say that, but
John, was the 11 million 2 years? Was that like the most we gave him? Is that for sure?
I think that was the number, like the average total 11 million. He's getting what, about 12.
Yeah, he's getting around 12 now, and I think that just goes to show you that how bad we could have possibly treated him. That he went to a team that isn't even close to winning the Super Bowl, and that's what he wants to do. They
easily could have matched it in a way that they would have been comfortable. Maybe not the exact replica of the contract that he got, but they could have worked it out where he could have been compensated basically equally. And they could have still worked in the plan with replacing him with a
He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to sell his house.
But I'm going to agree with
the franchise.
I'm going to agree with
treat him like a legend. He left.
I mean, they didn't do this with Willie Anderson. He left for Baltimore. He's the greatest right tackle of our history.
Yeah, that's true.
There's precedent for this happening.
Yeah, but I'm going to agree with one thing that John said, which is that Zeitler meanwhile, was an even greater free agent prospect. I mean, I know his position isn't as glorious as tackle, but I mean, because of the age, I mean, this guy, he just, like John said, he just turned 27 just like 4 days ago. He's very young, very healthy looking guy, that guy, I'm kind of surprised because he fits with our timeline. You know what I mean? I mean, even we keep him around 5-6 more years, he's still going to be a contributor,
If Kevin Zeitler is any other position on the field besides a guard, he would still be a Bengal at this point.
That's true.
And I like coming into free agency, we all kind of knew he was going to leave because there's no precedent for the Bengals paying that much for an interior offensive lineman. So we all kind of knew it was going to happen. But once he did leave, you start to wonder if they knew going into the season that they probably weren't going to pay what this guy was worth. How come they couldn't pull the Patriots and at least try to trade him to try to get a better compensation than what they might eventually get in 2018? We might not be, Donald Trump as president, we might not even be alive to see the compensatory pick in 2018. So why couldn't they have a little more affirmative action?
John's letting it all out. John is letting it all out. But
still my beating heart, John. I thought you were a trumpeteer.
No, John is not a trumpeteer. No.
I have one question about Zeitler. So I get his age that he's 27, but would it almost be, like, I don't know if this is a weird question to ask, but if he's 27, and it seems almost like we're rebuilding our line to where 27 seems a little bit old.
Well, let's look. But let's look. AJ Green is 28, Dalton is 29. That's our team right there, guys. Yeah, I mean, that's our timeline. It revolves around AJ Green, Geno Atkins, Vontaze Burfict. These are the guys. They're the only hope we have because of our history as a franchise of actually getting deep into the playoffs. Those playmaking big time guys. Once those guys are old, we got to see. We got to get lucky, or we got to be great at drafting again. So in that sense, I think I don't think we're going that young. I don't think we need to think that young like Obuehi and those guys. Those guys are But look, hey guys, let's give some credit where credit is due. How about that Brandon LaFell contract? Huh? I mean, that was a pretty smart signing. Look, you get. I like Boyd. I don't know. People don't like Boyd. They don't think he's fast enough. I don't understand this obsession with speed. I don't even understand this obsession with having 2 number 1 or 2 star receivers. Think about the Super Bowl teams and think about how many times they had people at the top of the receiving yards for the season. It's not like you have receivers carrying people deep into the playoffs, And we already have one of those guys. We already have one of those guys. We have AJ Green, and then you go out and you draft another young guy. Who knows? People, it's like 50-50. They stay healthy. They play more than like a few years in the league. And these fast guys, it doesn't translate. AJ Green. Look at AJ Green. His 40 speed and then his playing speed. So you got LaFell, and by the way, LaFell, if you look at like the highlight video I made of Brandon LaFell, you see Andy Dalton, his deep passes to LaFell are not overthrown. So I mean, that sounds weird, but actually LaFell's speed fits Andy Dalton's arm strength really well. It's just kind of funny. Like AJ Green is a little too fast sometimes, but LaFell and Dalton, they connect on the deep ones really well. So go ahead, John. Sorry.
Look.
Wait. What is the issue against looking for an upgrade?
I'm saying we have so many. Look, John, our linebackers are slow and unathletic. Our defensive line is kind of, getting bad. I mean, we got to see if Billings and Marcus Hardison, by the way, a good friend of the show, if they work out, that'd be great. But our defensive line has questions. Linebackers have questions. Corners, we still have questions. Offensive line. I mean, so why worry about receiver when we have
Coach has questions. There? Coach.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Nothing about Brandon LaFell should scare any defense. When Brandon LaFell is out wide at the flanker spot, it means the safeties can just bracket over AJ. He can take that threat over the top because Brandon LaFell isn't being any corner outside of Cleveland's corner deep. I agree. He's got solid mid 4.5 speed, but there's no scenario where Brandon LaFell is a legit deep threat in the NFL. And we just saw Marcus Wheaton, who is a legitimate deep threat in the NFL, get a 2-year deal worth $11 million. Would you rather pay that, or would you rather pay 2-year $9 million for Brandon LaFell? I just don't. We had decent production with LaFell, but you don't pay for production. You pay for traits. You pay for what a guy brings to the table. You can manufacture production with any player in the league. Brandon LaFell's are a dime a dozen, but players with actual speed, with actual game-breaking speed, That's a rare trait, and that's something that
would the Bengals be able to use that, John? Would Andy Dalton even be able to take advantage?
Any quarterback could be able to use that. Any quarterback who's starting in the NFL has enough strength to at least let a guy go and track it.
Look at Brock. Look at Brock Osweiler and DeAndre Hopkins.
Are you comparing Andy Dalton to Brock Osweiler?
No, I'm saying it's not always that the receiver doesn't make the offense.
I just
see. I agree.
I don't want mad Brendan LaFell.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I mean,
well, let Jordan talk. Please. Sorry, guys.
Let Jordan go ahead. Jordan, go ahead, Jordan. Please.
I can understand both sides when it comes to the Brendan LaFell move. For the price, I think that it was all right. But from what John's saying, I actually do agree with the whole speed thing because of the safeties coming up over top, the safeties coming up over top on AJ, which causes more, difficulty for AJ to get open. So that's why I said that the only reason why I think that we shouldn't assign Brandon LaFell is if we were to get a guy like John Ross in the draft who could just people down deep.
Are we forgetting about Cody Core here? I'm sorry, but Cody Core has size and speed. Cody Core looks like the real. I mean, I'm not saying he's a star. But we're talking about second, third option,
Can we not bank? Can we not bank on 6th-round picks to solve our problems?
No, I'm just saying.
Can we look a little bigger?
Look. Okay, let's look at this in a vacuum for a second. This is a good deal for 2 years, 9 million for a team that's trying to have some continuity and to make the playoffs. He's a veteran player. We know what he can do.
His status as the number 2 receiver. They're not paying him $4.5 million a year for 2 years to be the 3rd or 4th option on the offense.
Hey, they paid Ryan Hewitts like $3 million a year to do nothing.
LaFell should not be our number 2 receiver. I mean, other than a really cool last name, what does LaFell really have? He caught a few passes, great. Anybody can when you have AJ Green on the other side. And here's the thing that no one's talking about. The season hasn't started yet, guys. There's a reality here, and I know Bengals fans have a hard time with reality because it hits us hard whenever it hits us. Guys, AJ Green might not be the Bengals next year. There is a good chance AJ Green might not be with us. They have hurt that man's feelings.
No, he said he's fine. He said he's fine.
I don't know. You might be having a lot of Brandon LaFell next year because I don't know about AJ. If I were AJ, everybody's leaving. It's rats, as I always say. It's rats fleeing the ship. They know they can't win under Lewis, and people are sick. They want to leave.
Drake Kirkpatrick was so relieved that he could stay in Cincinnati for 5 years. He was so happy.
Because no one else wants him, man. There's no one. He's a sloppy player.
Steelers wanted
He's
him.
a sloppy.
Few teams wanted him.
They were tricking us.
Look, guys.
Now, you never did that. Your brother, your sister, you're like, oh, your food is so good. Eat your food. You're tricking them because you don't want them to eat your tasty food. We did that in the village all the time, man.
All right. Well, I'm getting the feeling that you guys are trying to say that Mike Brown is cheap or incompetent. I don't know which one is it here.
Cheap. And incompetent.
I read something over the weekend that really kind of caught my eye. The Bengals and Packers, they operate very similarly. I mean, all of their revenue comes from football revenue only. Ted Thompson, obviously, with the Packers, who runs things, and Mike Brown. They don't make money outside of football. So what happens when those two teams enter free agency? You always talk about the Bengals and Packers never do anything in free agency because they can't dish out these massive guaranteed contracts because they can't pay those guarantees over an extended period of time. Every contract that you see with the Bengals, all the guaranteed money is basically up front. The signing bonus, all the base salaries, everything's basically up front because they can't promise that player a guaranteed amount of money for the course of 4 to 5 years. So that's why they promise that they're going to honor these contracts for the entire length, and that's their selling point beyond just the guaranteed money.
Yeah,
so in a way, it's basically just a completely other way to play the game of free agency.
It is.
And at some point, you have to wonder, when does Roger Goodell basically say, hey, Mike Brown, you can't afford your membership card as an NFL owner. We might get someone else to buy this team who can actually perform in the salary cap.
We were one of a handful of teams, along with the Packers. Until last year, we were one of a handful of teams, I think along with the Packers and the Patriots and the Seahawks, to make the playoffs like 5 years in a row or whatever. So, it's not like last year was a down year. I'll give you that. But it's not like we don't know what we're doing.
Why did last year happen? Look,
Eifert's coming up, his free agency. We got to give Burfict a new contract. These are very important members of the team.
Daddy-o.
Have you ever
why did last year happen?
Last year happened because Andre Smith left and because Jeremy Hill, has kind of lost it. We depended on him. He couldn't,
Last year happened because the past 2 to 3 drafts have completely just basically cracked on the side of the road. They're completely bust. There's no positive contributors over the past 2 to 3 drafts that we know of. And when a team like the Bengals, how they operate, when they don't draft well, there's no other way to supplement talent because they don't.
That is very
true.
True.
That's true. And we don't attract good free agents too. That's true. Yeah.
And when you have to draft well because you don't perform in free agency and those drafts don't turn out well, there's no way that they can put enough talent on the team. You have to win. Yeah, you have to bring in talent with more than just drafting well because you can't always draft well.
Well,
John is on fire tonight. I say let John just keep talking and we just keep recording because he's on fire.
There's not a lot more room on this soapbox. I'm slipping off at the moment.
Look, Daddy-o, look. I mean, I'll put a metaphor for you. You said last year was like a little bit of a down thing. If you ever ridden a bike, this is what I was going to say. You go up, up, up. When you start going down, Daddy-o, it tends to keep going that way. And we hit our zenith. Our year, that playoff where we almost beat the Steelers, where by the way, A.J. McCarron almost beat the Steelers, that was it. It's over. It's over. Get sober, because it's done. That's it.
No, I disagree. I mean, AJ Green, Dalton. If the line can figure it out, he has more time. He looked great in 2015, and he's the type of quarterback, by the way, who makes things. He can get the ball out quickly. So I mean, if he knows, the defense should bounce back. I think we're going to kind of. Replenish the defense, maybe with some draft picks. Peiko's gone, maybe the younger guys. I think the younger guys getting more interior pressure is going to be huge. We'll see. I don't think when this.
The other teams practice too. The other teams practice too. The defense is going to suck. The offense is going to suck. The Bengals.
I am worried about the offense. I'm not going to lie about the line.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and I can. Maybe there's about 3 players on both the offense and defensive line that you can consider quality starters. Everyone else should not be starting in the NFL at this point.
Who are they? Well, Gino?
I mean, there's Clint Bowling, who would be a quality starter, and obviously Gino's elite, and there's Dunlap. Other than that, it's bare. It's the bottom of the cookie jar.
Listen, even our finest players are freaks, if you want to be honest about it. No other team. Vontez Burfict. He's the guy. He's the fire beneath the pot, which is the Bengals. He couldn't even function on other teams. The Bengals have to realize what they are. We're a sideshow. We are a sideshow for the NFL. And if we realize that, that's what now it doesn't have to be that way. The early Marvin Lewis set us up so that we could have done some pretty cool stuff, but it involves investment and it involves some risk taking, and that's not what the Bengals are gonna do.
All right, guys, John, you said we need to draft better. That's how we work. Let's just be realistic here. Our team thrives by getting good draft picks. And guess what? We might not like the way free agency ended, but compensatory picks. We got how many compensatory? We got all these.
Oh, yay.
And
yay.
Yeah, yay, exactly. John, I'm so glad to see attitude change. And
the last Bengals drafted with a compensatory pick that contributed positively was Chinedim Ndukwe. And for people who just joined the Bengals fandom when AJ Green and Andy Dalton played, they have no idea who Chinedim Ndukwe is.
All right, guys, before this gets more depressing, I'm going to have to cut the show because you are making me very sad. And we have a long way to the season. So thank you for listening to Sorry if I spit when I speak. And we'll catch you next time.